Hello, everyone. So I will just give a minute for everyone to settle in. So welcome to the YouTube webinar. Hello again, everyone. So welcome to the University of Queensland's webinar on Study Medicine at UQ in 2026. My name is Irene Hui. I'm your host today, and I'm based in the international team at the Faculty of Health, Medicine, and Behavioral Sciences. So it is really lovely to see so many of you online this evening or in your afternoon. Before we start, I would like to let you know that we are recording this webinar and we will be sharing the recording with you later in the week. Also, the content of this webinar is targeted at international applicants. While we welcome domestic Australian students to tune in, please make sure that you are viewing the program information according to your applicant status, as some of the information may be different. Today, I have the great pleasure to introduce you to our panel members. So our first speaker will be Professor Stuart Carney, Dean of the UQ Medical School, who will be sharing with you some of his insights into the current and future healthcare challenges. He will also give you an overview of the UQ Doctor of Medicine program. We will then have Ms. Kelly Cox, admissions coordinator from our faculty, who will walk you through the admissions requirements and applications timeline for both graduate entry and professional entry pathways. After that, we will have our current MD Year 1 and Year 2 current students, Dia and Patrick, sharing their experience with you as international students in Brisbane. And finally, we will have a Q&A session for you to ask our panel's questions. So during the webinar, feel free to use the chat function as we have our colleague Chloe Lee in the background to monitor the chat. Also, we will do our best to address as many questions as possible in our Q&A session later on. And now, without further ado, let me introduce our first speaker, Professor Stuart Carney, Dean of the UQ Medical School. Over to you, Professor Carney.
Thank you. And I will share my screen. Okay. Good afternoon, good evening. Can you see my screen? Excellent. The technology is working. Thank you, Irene. It's a real pleasure to be here. But can I please start, as is our custom, by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands upon which we meet. For those of us here in Brisbane, Meanjin, we're on the unceded lands of the Yagara and Turrbal peoples, and I'd like to pay respects to their elders past, present, and emerging as we walk together on the path to reconciliation, and in so doing, extend that acknowledgement and pay my respects to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander First Nations peoples joining us on this call today. And also, the University of Queensland would like to reaffirm our commitment to diversity and inclusion in a world where strategies to support and promote diversity and inclusion are under threat. I think it is important for us to pause and reflect around how our profession, how our academic life is enriched by diverse perspectives, and we as a community commit to creating a culturally safe environment where all can flourish and thrive and realize their potential. So I'm going to come back to a theme which I will revisit during my sort of brief remarks. We recognize that you have choice. You have choices about where you might study. There are many great medical schools around the world. I was formerly the Dean of the Medical School at King's College London. Medical schools in the United States, like Harvard, Yale, have a great reputation. Here in Australia, we also acknowledge the contributions of medical schools like Melbourne, Sydney. But the picture I'm showing you is the building where my office is situated. It is the main medical school building here at the University of Queensland. And as you'll see proudly above the entrance to that building, we are the only medical school that purports to be the medical school. But joking aside, we are a medical school that is truly proud of our international reach. We have a partnership with the Oshner Clinical School in the United States, based in New Orleans, Louisiana. But also, we are not just the University of Queensland, we are the University for Queensland. And in addition to our significant footprint here in the Greater Brisbane area, we're proud of our contributions of the work we do in partnership with regional communities across southern Queensland. Many of those sites are listed here. So, as Irene has said, I'm going to sort of provide a bit of an overview of some of the issues we're grappling with within healthcare at the moment, as we look to you, the next generation of healthcare leaders, to ensure that we can continue to push back the boundaries of knowledge and ensure that we provide care which serves the needs of the people we care for. And I think one of the big issues that we're all grappling with here in Australia and around the world is the aging population, thanks to significant advances within healthcare, but I think critically advances around the social determinants of disease, public health initiatives, addressing things like poverty, that we are seeing a significant growth in our population, and that population is getting older. That is wonderful, particularly as we celebrate healthy aging, but with aging comes some additional challenges to our healthcare system. Amongst those challenges are chronic conditions. With advancing years, we tend to acquire more chronic conditions. And in Australia, like in many countries around the world, around half of us are living with a chronic condition. Now, and thanks to significant advances, we're better able to support individuals and live full lives with those chronic conditions. But as I've said, with advancing years, we're also seeing many people living with multiple chronic conditions. And I think as we grapple with multiple chronic conditions, we know that the nature of healthcare has to adapt, has to change. That often when you're living with a single condition, care by a specialist, an individual who is expert in the care of that particular condition, is often associated with improved health outcomes. But if you're living with multiple chronic conditions, the evidence would suggest that being cared for by a generalist, somebody who can work with you, work with the people we care for, to look at the trade-offs between the therapeutic interventions we have at our disposal, to ensure first that we do no harm, and bring to bear their generalist capabilities to ensure that you get the appropriate balance of treatments. And I think that is important because the pendulum, perhaps within healthcare in many middle to high income countries, has swung in favor of specialization and subspecialization. Important as that is, we're all beginning to recognize the importance of the general physician, the general pediatrician, the general practitioner. In many respects, the general practitioner or the family physician are the rock star of our healthcare system, and the future of healthcare will be dependent on a significant and secure base, collaborative care teams, of which family physicians, general practitioners play a significant role. And in the context of Queensland, where we grapple with the tyranny of distance, many of those general practitioners also acquire an additional specialization and are rural generalists. And these are amongst the opportunities that are available to you as you consider how you can best serve, how you can realize your full potential. And as a university, I have the joy of working with some impressive individuals. Here's a picture of Michael Wagels, an orthopedic surgeon who pioneered the use of 3D printing technology to manufacture sort of bones which can be used to replace and transplanted into individuals who have suffered significant trauma. And whilst, yes, it is important that we speak about technology, artificial intelligence playing a significant role in the provision of healthcare as we sort of continue to provide sort of care for people. I think it is fundamental that we recognize that at its heart, medicine is about people. So it's against this backdrop, it's against the challenges of an aging population, of a population living with multiple chronic conditions, of the need for a healthcare system to pivot towards a more generalist foundation, recognizing that we need to encourage and support more individuals to pursue general practitioner, rural generalist, general physician, general pediatrician, and similar careers, that we have been reimagining our medical program. And back in 2023, we embarked on the launch of a major sort of curriculum refresh, a curriculum refresh which seeks to address those challenges that Australia and many countries around the world are grappling with, which seeks to equip you with the skills to provide care for individuals using sort of technology, which seeks to bring the biomedical and the population sciences to life by the use of a team-based learning sort of methodology in year 1 and case-based learning in year 2, to ensure that you can sort of begin to integrate all of these key themes that will equip you with the skills you need. But we also recognize that when I was at medical school, the quantum of medical knowledge doubled every 5 to 7 years. Today, it doubles every 73 days. So medical school is only the beginning of a journey, a commitment to lifelong learning. And our curriculum is designed to equip you with the skills to be a lifelong learner. And as part of that, as part of our 4-year program, we are particularly keen to ensure that you have early, meaningful opportunities to develop your clinical capabilities, to very much orientate what you're learning in the clinical environment and understand and bring it back to the care of patients, and to use multiple assessment methodologies to ensure we get a comprehensive picture of what you know, of what you can do, and who you are as an emerging clinician. So the 4-year medical program starts typically for those based here in the Greater Brisbane area at the St. Lucia campus, year-long course, team-based learning as a sort of core component of the program. And as you progress through years 1 through 4, increasing amount of time spent in the clinical environment, ultimately culminating in years 3 and 4, where around 80% of your time is spent in the clinical environment, and in year 4, preparing you for that critical transition, that transition to clinical practice, seeking to smooth that transition and ensure you have not only the capabilities, but also the confidence to be a member of a clinical team as you embark on your internship or residency program. And along the way, plenty of opportunities for you to test hypotheses, career hypotheses, and undertake selectives and electives. For those of you who have ambitions to be future clinician researchers, there are opportunities for you to undertake an MD PhD or an MD MPhil. But whatever you decide to do, we would not be doing our job if you didn't graduate from our program as curious, or perhaps even more curious than you did when you joined us. And we need to equip you, and we will equip you with the skills, not only to sort of to ask those questions and challenge the status quo, but to continue to sort of to grow and evolve. As I said, knowledge is doubling at the moment every 73 days. You never stop learning. And recognizing that a medical program is challenging, it's incredibly rewarding, yes, but we need to ensure that there is scaffolding around you, opportunities to support you, to enable you to flourish and thrive. And as part of that, we're proud of the work that the medical school student support do, the personal advisor network, academic guidance leads, providing support for individuals during the program. And as you'll hear from the student colleagues later, the incredible work that the UQMS do. In many respects, the greatest gift that we can give you as a medical student here are your peers, are the individuals who will walk with you on this journey, who will be there to sort of to share in the good moments and to support you sort of perhaps when you are struggling. But at its core, recognizing that there is more to medicine than a degree, and that these are the relationships that I predict will be with you for the next 30, 40, 50, 60 years. The people who will share in the key life events for you and your families, and will be part of your support network as both as an individual, but also as a healthcare professional throughout your career. So what happens during the course of that program, and where do our graduates end up? Many of our graduates, particularly those coming from overseas, at the point of entry are sort of contemplating and imagining that they will return home, and many of them do. But at the point of graduation, what we see is the majority of our graduates seek to work in the Australian healthcare system. 87%, in fact, is the average graduate sort of number who go on to do their internship and their early postgraduate training here in Australia. 13% will return home at an early stage. And wherever you work, you will be a valued and valuable member of that team. And I can assure you that the Australian healthcare system values your contribution. In fact, the Australian healthcare system graduates somewhere around 3,700 doctors, and last year imported an additional 5,000 doctors to provide healthcare across this wonderful country. So whilst I can't guarantee employment in the geography or in the specialty of your choice, I think there will always be a need for the skills you bring. So let me tell you about some of the destinations where our graduates go. As I said, many of our graduates, in fact, most will go on to do their internship and their PGY2 here in Australia. Plenty of opportunities in Singapore and Canada and elsewhere around the world. So before I hand over to Kelly, I have a simple question for you. The world we are working in is evolving, is challenging. There are plenty of opportunities for you to push back the boundaries of knowledge. If you want to make a difference, then I hope you will consider the University of Queensland. We are committed to supporting you, to nurturing you, to flourish and thrive. Thank you very much. I'm going to hand over to Kelly.
Thanks very much, Stuart. I'll just share the screen. Okay. Right. So it's wonderful to have you all here today, and my name is Kelly Cox, and I'm the admissions coordinator for the Faculty of Health Medicine and Behavioural Sciences. So tonight we're just going to talk through a few points about the actual admissions process. So there are two entry points. The first is provisional entry, and that is for current high school leavers. And the second is graduate entry for those who have completed or in their final year of completing a bachelor degree. We have quite a large cohort within our medical program. So for the domestics, we have almost 300, about 285 positions, but that's across a number of different pathways, including our partnership rural pathways. For international, we have about 95 students, and then there's also 95 places for the UQ OSHNA program. So that's the program with our OSHNA partnership team over in the United States, and that's for applicants who are are US citizens or have permanent residency. So we'll just briefly look at the provisional entry pathway, and that is for current high school leavers. So obviously you need to have been able to completed year 12. You need to apply in your final year of senior secondary school, receive a minimum ATAR or equivalent of 95, and complete the UCAT ANZ aptitude test. So once you have completed those things, eligible applicants will be invited to sit a multiple mini interview, which is a requirement to be able to gain a place in the program. After those interviews, offers are made, and they are based on 25% of your ATAR or ATAR equivalent, 25% of your UCAT ANZ score, and 50% of your MMI. So once you get a place, if you get a place in the provisional entry pathway, then you need to complete your undergrad degree first. So once you are in, you complete that, there are some requirements to meet before you actually progress into the Doctor of Medicine program. And so that includes completing your undergraduate degree with a GPA of 5 on a 7-point scale. Completing it within the minimum amount of time required. So if you choose to do a 3-year undergraduate degree, you need to complete it within 3 years. and also completing 2 prerequisite courses. So we have at UQ 2 courses called Integrative Cell Tissue Biology and also Systems Physiology, but there are a number of comparative ways in which you can also meet that requirement. More information on prerequisites is on our prerequisites website, so you can go on there and have a look at if you can meet it in another way. What happens if you don't get admissions into the provisional entry point? It's okay. Even those that get in still need to complete their undergraduate degree first. So we recommend that you still complete an undergraduate degree and then apply as a graduate entry applicant. Now, there's a number of different undergraduate degrees that we do recommend. The ones that are on screen are primarily at UQ and allow you to meet that subject prerequisite. However, there are a number of different options that you have. And so please, again, check out our website and it'll have more information, a lot more detail on there. So for graduate entry, so this is for people who are currently at university or have completed university within the last 10 years. You need to complete a key degree. So traditionally it's a bachelor degree, but it could also be a master's or a PhD. You need to successfully complete the subject prerequisites, which I've already mentioned. For the 2026 intake, if you don't meet those prerequisites, we do have a free online course that we can offer you that will allow you to meet those prerequisites. You need to have a GPA of 5 on a 7-point scale in your key degree. And your grade point average needs to be, that's the grade point average, 5 on 7-point scale. And you also need to have completed an aptitude test, either the GAMSAT or the MCAT. So the GAMSAT, you would need to achieve at least a minimum 50 in each subsection or a minimum score of 504 in the MCAT. And they need to have been achieved within the last 4 years. Again, graduate entry, like with provisional entry, eligible applicants will receive an invitation to interview. And then the offers will then be made based on 25% of the GPA, 25% of the GAMSAT or MCAT, and 50% of the MMI score. So what are multiple mini interviews? So this is a values-based selection tool that allows us to look at your non-academic qualities. So we're looking at things like kindness and compassion, integrity, also your communication skills. Being a doctor is more than just about knowledge. It's also about the human being interactions that you'll have on that journey. So this is what a multiple mini interview is looking at. So here we have an example of a potential station. So for example, Joe is a pizza delivery worker. He works the pizza shop he works for has a 30 minutes or less delivery guarantee for customers, otherwise they don't have to pay. And on the most recent delivery, he spots a woman bleeding in the street. So this is a sort of situation that you may be presented with, where you're looking at a dilemma. What do you do? Do you help the woman or do you deliver the pizza? It might seem pretty logical in this situation, but also, Joe needs the job. Might not earn his money, might not have money to pay for rent or for food. So for some people, it could be a bit more of a dilemma, but we would be looking at how you would deal with this situation. What would you say? What would you do? So this is what we're looking at with MMIs. It's not academic. We're not going to be quizzing you on how many bones are in the human body. Okay, so the indicative annual fee is $104,120, at least that's for 2026. There are no UQ scholarships available. There are additional costs involved, obviously for travel. We also require a first aid certificate, including CPR, so that will cost a bit of money to get that. You also need to do a police check. So there are some additional costs, but that is about the indicative annual fee for 2026 at least. Okay, the application dates. So this really depends on what type of applicant you are. So if you are an international applicant who is applying through QTAC, the deadline is the 30th of September. Interviews are in November, and offer will be in December. If you are an international provisional entry applicant who is applying directly to us, there are actually 2 rounds this year. If you want to be considered for round 1, you need to apply by the 13th of August, and round 2 is the 30th of September. Round 1 interviews are in September and round 2 interviews are in November, and offers again in December, in August or December. Sorry, October or December. Got a bit of a block on that screen there. And for graduate entry, again, there's 2 rounds. You need to apply for round 1 by the 9th of June or round 2 by the 13th of August. MMIs are in July and September, and offers are in August and October. Okay, so that is it for me. I'll stop sharing my screen.
So thank you very much, Kelly, for sharing the useful information about admissions requirements. So before we go to the next session, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome some of the newcomers. So I can see our number of attendees pop up during our presentations. So welcome to the MD webinar. And yeah, this webinar will be recorded, and as you may already see in the chat, so during our webinar, feel free to pop in your questions. We'll try to answer it on the spot, or like later on, we'll do it in the Q&A sessions. So in the next 10 minutes or so, we have our 2 current MD Year 1 and MD Year 2 international students to share about their experiences with studying at UQ. So first, we will have Dia. So she is a Year 1 student, and she's also the UQMS, so UQ Medical Society International Representative for Year 1 students. And after that, we will have Patrick. So Patrick is currently in Year 2. And yeah, you were here with us in our webinar last year. So keen to hear about part 2 of your UQ stories. So we will have Dia first. Over to you, Dia.
Thanks, Amy. Hi, everyone. My name is Dia Chauhan, and I am a first-year international medical student at the University of Queensland. I apologize for not having slides with me, but I will try to paint a picture the best I can. I'm originally from India, which is where I finished my high school from. I did my undergraduate degree in biomedical science back in Melbourne, and I then moved to Brisbane to pursue medicine. As many changes I have had in my life, moving to study medicine has been the biggest change I've experienced so far. And moving away from family and friends I had back in India and Melbourne was not easy at all, as you might imagine. I got in through the graduate medical pathway because, to be honest, before I started my undergrad, I wasn't too sure about my options, and I still wanted to keep my options open. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go into research. I also wanted to become a veterinarian at one point. But doing my undergrad helped me lock in about what I wanted to actually do, and which is why I chose the graduate medical pathway. I got to get into this course. I went through the same process that everyone in my boat goes through. I did my best in undergrad, sat the GAMSAT, and went through a round of MMIs. However, this was just the beginning of the journey I was going to go through soon. On the first day, just like everyone else, I was beyond excited to start my degree and become the doctor I had envisioned myself I would be. And then came the fun part, the study, making lots of friends and going to all the events this faculty had to offer. We have first year med camp, which is exclusively for first year students. And you will never forget that, believe me. There are other events like the first year barbecue, sports day, Mayball, the keg party, and numerous other social events where you will be able to meet like minded people. Medical students not only work hard, but also make sure they have so much more fun than that. The thing I like most about Brisbane and UQ specifically is its weather and its people. Talking about the weather first, it is mostly sunny here with some rainy days, which I like personally. And whenever I feel like it, I just pack my bags, take a train to Gold Coast, and I have recently started learning some surfing. So the main highlight for me basically is the people. So the day we landed in Brisbane, I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea how to reach my student accommodation, and I was confused beyond measure. So this really nice lady at the train station saw this and did not hesitate for 1 second to come and help me out. And this basically sums up how people in Brisbane treat you. It's one of the happiest cities in the world for a reason. So, in 6 months that I've been here, I have met people from around the world, learned from their experiences, and that has made me more sure of me evolving as a person and as a future medical professional. Now, talking about the more difficult stuff, because all good things never come without it. Since I already did my undergraduate back in Melbourne, I already had my bank, grocery shops, basic utilities, and part time job set up. These are some things that you will have a blast figuring out here. You might be stuck for a while, not wanting to do any of these things, just focusing on medicine, but getting that balance is very essential. I cannot warn you enough about the spiders. Um, Now, talking about the studying, something that all of you academically inclined people have been waiting for, which I am guessing it's all of you. This first semester introduced me to anatomy, physiology, pharmacology, histology, and pathology about the heart and lungs, all of which I thoroughly enjoyed studying. We also have interactive learning sessions and labs to consolidate our learning. Um, you might be thinking that you are going to need support as international students because you are leaving all of your support in your home country and coming to a country that you might have just visited for a vacation or have never have visited. But the medical faculty has got you covered. We have the UQ Union, we have the Medical School Support Team, and also the UQ Medical Society. All these societies are a great way to meet new people and get the support you need. As Irene said, I am the first year international representative of UQMS, and I can understand how we might need all the support we can get. Studying this course became so much easier when I realized the amount of support this faculty and the people around me provided. To be honest, medicine is not all black and white, as people might think. It is not stressful, but you also need to put in the effort, as you might imagine. Although you are leaving so much behind, there is so much to gain here, and it might be without experiencing it. But just like Stuart said, you are going to form a community here where everyone is going to encourage each other to become the best professional. I don't want to spoil it for you and what is to come next, but my tip would be to focus on your short term goals first, focus on what you're doing right now, and believe in yourself that you will figure it out. This journey is going to be one of the most difficult ones you will ever take, but it is going to be so worth it. Worrying about your grades is not going to improve them, so keep your cool and you will be able to showcase your potential. And remember why you started. I can't explain everything and help you guys out in the 5 minutes that I have been given to speak for. So I am just going to pop my Instagram handle in the chat. Feel free to send me a request and ask me any questions you might have. God knows I would have loved it if someone helped me out. I can't wait what the rest of my degree brings to me, and the same goes for you guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Dia. So Patrick, your turn.
Yeah, I did create a couple of slides. Let me just share that.
Feel free to share.
All right, so hi everyone. So my name is Patrick. I'm originally from Singapore, but I'm a little bit different from Dia in the sense that I did my undergraduate here at UQ as well. I've been here since about 2021 and I graduated in 2023. So currently I am a MD2 student, and let me just share with you the amount of fun that you can have studying here, not just in Australia, but specifically in UQ. All right, so let's start with that first. So, Firstly, the perks of being able to study at UQ is that coming from Singapore, it is recognized by the Singapore Medical Council, which means I can go back to Singapore and my degree will be recognized and I can apply for a job there fairly easily, right? I wouldn't have to take additional exams just to be able to get a job for it. Now, beyond this, UQ program has now changed, like what Professor Carney has said, that it's more focused towards giving you an earlier clinical exposure, which is, let me tell you, absolutely fantastic. Dear, I can only preempt you for how much you would enjoy it next year. But having that exposure since second year of medicine compared to in the past was, I believe, third year, it really makes a difference because it gives you a perspective of your theory and practice. Right. So research opportunities, fantastic. There are a plethora of research centers here that will be more than willing to invite you into their program and teach you one or two about research and to participate in it, which also will benefit you in your future career if you're looking to go into certain pathways. Now, rural health is something that UQ has a big focus on. Things have changed a little bit. Nobody is for certain at the moment, but rural medicine is something that I do wish that I'll be able to experience somewhere later down in my degree. We'll see about that, but rural medicine is something very unique in itself, and I think it's something good for everyone to experience if that's what you want to do. And Dia said earlier about the student support system. I can't emphasize enough how well it has been for us. A lot from the UQ Union, the UQMS, and the medical schools themselves. So you can see from the pictures that I have. So there are things like campus kitchens, there are swap vac food trucks. So these are things organized by the student union on campus for you. And during exam seasons, when you're stressed out of your mind trying to study, you don't want to have to think about food again. So there's free food available on campus, or there's food that you can buy from food trucks as and when you wish. And the academic, emotional, mental health that a medical school provides for you, incredible. I have myself have accessed it, and it has been very useful in helping you progress along in your degree. Now, social life. So as medical students, we study hard. I said this last year. We study hard, but we play even harder. There are many, many things you can do, either with Union, either with UQMS, or even with the people that you find yourself involved with. So engage when you get into school and do the best that you can. Now, let me just share with you a little bit more into what second year of medicine looks like. So second year is the start of the clinical years for us in UQ. This is where you start to spend less time in St. Lucia and you spend about 3 or 4 days in your clinical unit. So we have 4 main clinical unit. I am part of the South community where I'm based at the Princess Alexandra Hospital. Now, within the hospital, we have a clinical unit as well where you have all your teachings are mainly done. So the most common teaching or the most regular teaching that you have is what we call case-based learning, or CBLs. So CBLs are a good place for you to be able to practice your knowledge, because you run through a case with a group of 10 students. You run the case yourself. Yes, you have a tutor there who is a doctor that sits in and kind of guides you along the way, but you are running the system. You are figuring out what investigations to do, what managements to order for the patient. And you can double check whether what you're thinking is right. So it helps you kind of put things into perspective and trains you to think like a doctor since second year of medicine. Now, we enter the hospital from second year, so we have something called clinical coaching session. So once a week, about 1.5 to 2 hours or so, you go to the wards, you get to interact with actual patients, you practice your ability to take histories from the patient, you practice your clinical skills of taking examinations. So that can be anything from a cardiovascular exam to a neurological exam to a thyroid exam, for example. So you get to practice it not just with peers that you would do in preparation for exams, but you have the opportunity to do it with actual patients and with actual cases, right? I've heard tons of interesting murmurs by this point. It's fantastic. Now, in second year, this is also where you have your actual placement. So you can opt in for either doing an outpatient and collaborative care placement in semester 1 or GP placement in semester 1 first. Either or, you will do one in semester 1 and the other in semester 2. Now, collaborative care is what we call allied health, where you can think about it as like physiotherapists, speech therapists, pharmacy, all these sorts of things. So you get to experience a little bit of everything, and it's great. Your first introduction to the system. Now, the other great thing about being a second year is you get to volunteer to tutor the first year medical students. So this is a good opportunity, not just for the MD1 students, but for yourself as well, because this is where you get to refresh your memory of the knowledge that you will need throughout your entire career, right? This is a continuous learning system that we have. Now, just to end off my presentation, I just want to share with you guys a few things that you get to do in Australia, okay? So beyond studying, it's fantastic here. You get to party with friends. The nature is absolutely amazing. I'll give you a whole separate slides on it. I've been going to concerts with my friends just coming from Singapore. It's so expensive to go concerts there. So much cheaper here. Fantastic, right? And I'm a car person. I love my car. That's a picture of me with actually a fourth year medical student, Aaron. He is fantastic, really smart. And these are things that you get to experience, things that you might not be able to do back at home. And these are beyond what you do as studying. And always remember that work-life balance is so important, especially in medicine. Now, speaking of nature, these are just a couple of things that I have done and seen all around Australia. Remember that Australia is such a large country. There is so much for you to experience. You may be based in Brisbane, but there's so much that you can do. You just want to do it. All right. So thank you very much. Yeah, I'll hand it back over to Irene.
Yep. So thank you so much. Thank you, Dia and Patrick, for sharing your UQ stories. Already, I can see a lot of questions in the chat asking about the learning, the learning and the teaching and learning experience. So I would like to take this opportunity to open the floor to our audience. So if you have any questions after listening to all our presentations, or if you want to find out more about the students' life, feel free to pop your question in the chat. I have already collated a few questions, and let me start with, so it will be admissions questions for you, Kelly. So let me start with this one. Graduate entry. So if my undergraduate degree in Australia meets the subject prerequisites, so what do I need to provide apart from the transcript in my application?
Well, if the actual program meets the prerequisite, then all you need to do is actually provide your transcript. That will cover it. Our wonderful central admissions team will assess that, and everything will be fine. If for some reason there's something that's within your program that if what you're using to meet the prerequisite is actually not within the program, that you would also need to provide the documentation of what does meet that requirement. And again, for anyone who doesn't meet it, don't forget we do have some free online courses that we can offer to help you meet that prerequisite. But it should just be your degree if that's what you're using to meet the requirement.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so the academic transcripts, or like if you're not 100% sure, I think the course outlines or some of the relevant materials, feel free to upload it to your application to assist us from our assessment. So this one is also on graduate entry, and I think a lot of students are thinking about that. So what if I apply and then I don't get in? Are there any alternative pathways? Because knowing that the UQMD program is a very competitive one.
It is very competitive. However, if you don't get in, there is always the option to apply in the following year. Just remember your key degree should be completed within the last 10 years. So you do actually have about 10 years in which to apply. And if you are nearing that 10-year point, there are still other ways to keep your key degree active. There is more information on our website about that. That's a bit more complex, so I won't go into that now. But you would just need to apply for the following year.
Yeah, okay. One more for you. So this one is for provisional entry. So students are required to have the UCAT ANZ test results. So is there a minimum score expected for UCAT ANZ?
Okay, so for UCAT ANZ, they've recently undertaken some changes to the test. Those changes are currently being reviewed by our medical school and the university, and then once those changes have been reviewed, we will put out more information about that on our website. So unfortunately, there's not much I can say about that at the moment, but keep an eye on our website and more information will be added.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. And this one is for Professor Carney. So a student is looking ahead, like assuming that like they're in the program. So is it common for international students to get into their desired specialties programs down the track?
So thank you very much for that question, Irene. So the Australian healthcare system, like the UK healthcare system, doesn't have a residency program at the point of exit from medical school. So in the US and Canada, you'd go straight into your specialty training program. In Australia, there is typically a period of generic training, which we would call the pre-vocational program, and all Australian graduates are expected to do 2 years in that program. So I think my advice to you is have a plan A, have a plan B, have a plan C, and have a plan D. That some specialties are incredibly competitive. And if you are particularly picky about geography, you narrow the search even further. There are lots of ways in which you can make a difference as a doctor, and if you don't get into the specialty of your choice at the there are other ways in which you can sort of lead a very fulfilling career. Many individuals, though, if they've got the heart set on a particular specialty area, will, a bit like coming to medical school, will have multiple attempts. So you don't have to apply in the final year of medical school. You can apply PGY2, PGY3, PGY4, and get more experience and build up your CV and your capabilities to maximize your chances of securing a position. But best advice I was given is don't put all your eggs in one basket. Have a plan A, B, C, and D.
Yeah, thank you for the good advice. And one more for you, Professor Carney. This one is about internship. So how does the process of internship allocation work for international students? Is it mainly based on academic merits?
So the different states have different arrangements for the allocation to internship in Australia. In Queensland, we tend not to sort of rely on academic capability in the sense of we recognize that everybody who graduates from medical school here in Australia has met the core requirement. So there are essentially two schemes for international students. There is the public hospital scheme, and then there is the private hospital scheme. That Australia has an insatiable demand for medical graduates, and once positions are allocated to domestic graduates, all places that are left over, and there tend to be a lot of places, often more places left over than there are international graduates of Australian medical schools, are then up for ballot process. So you apply to the individual hospitals that you're interested in, and our international graduates usually secure their choice. There's also a private hospital scheme as well, which happens in September of the year you graduate. So plenty of options, and as I say, up until this point, there have been more internship opportunities than there are graduates, and we rely on bringing in additional talent from overseas to fill our PGY1, PGY2 positions, because we can't fill them all with graduates of Australian medical schools.
Yeah, so it is positive to hear that. And now maybe back to some student experience questions, Dia and Patrick. So we have students who would like to know more about the teaching mode for the lectures, whether they are in person or pre-recorded, and also what does exams, or I guess we call it assessments, look like?
I could probably go first. So in terms of teaching, I think there was a couple of questions in comparison to undergraduate as well. Firstly, understand that this is a graduate program, and it is of an expectation that you have the want to study more. So firstly, yes, the lectures are recorded, but they are also delivered in person, especially in first year. But in second year, a lot of lectures tend to be recorded online for the purpose that we have students in rural placements as well. So we got to cater for everyone. So it is done via Zoom, but it is also recorded. But you also have compulsory classes, like what I share with CBL. Those are compulsory classes and they are done face to face. But what the teaching of the medical school does is teach you the foundations of medicine for you, and it is up to you to go and learn more yourself by either reading, watching videos, asking clinicians, and all sorts of things. I hope that kind of answers the question.
Dia, do you have anything to add?
Yes, a couple of changes that the second years have from the first years. Talking about the assessments, we have the mini KEXs and the DOPS, which are basically practical exams, which help you consolidate all the learning you did. And we also have the CATs, which are basically to consolidate your theoretical learning, and they're just kind of spread out throughout the semester. And yeah, they basically they don't want you to rote learn everything, but they actually want to see if you can clinically apply whatever they've taught you so far. So yeah, that should be about it for the first year at least.
Yep. So thank you for that. So we've got some admissions questions. So back to you, Kelly. So when students apply to UQ for MD program, do they need to write a personal statement or submit any evidence of volunteering or research experience?
No, there's none of that. So what I was talking about earlier today are the admissions requirements. So you just need for graduate entry, a completed or key degree, or being in your final year of your bachelor degree with a minimum GPA of 5 out of 7. You need to have sat a GAMSAT or MCAT and received minimum scores, and you need to have completed a multiple mini interview. That is all that's required.
Yep. So thank you, very clear. Yeah, so keep the questions coming and let me go through some of this one. Yeah, so back to our students. So how is MD different from your undergraduate studies? So assuming that this student would like to apply through the graduate entry pathway.
I'll say MD is hard. It is meant to be hard. It is designed to be hard. That's why it makes you special for being able to get into medical school and completing medical school. So it is more than just learning. It is a lot about clinical reasoning and being able to apply, and also the humanistic feature of being able to talk to patients. Remember that the job that we're trying to pursue involves around talking to people and providing care for the people. So what you're learning is not just science-based theories, but also how to become a good doctor and a better doctor. So don't just think that it's just studying about hardcore facts and for you to just regurgitate everything back up. It doesn't work the same way.
Yep. Thank you. Anything to add, Dia?
Just what Patrick said. Being a doctor is not able to, remember all the foramina in the skull. It's about being able to talk to someone and being able to understand what's going on with them and being able to empathize and, just giving them the whole person care approach. That's what we are taught in first year. Being a doctor is about everything, and that is the most important thing to take away from all the learning that you get.
Yep, great. And one last question. So Kelly, to you on admissions. So is it possible to fail an MMI station? And would failing in one automatically reject you from entry to MD?
It is possible to fail the MMIs. We do have a 50% pass, minimum pass. However, failing one station doesn't necessarily rule you out at all. As I said, it's 50% overall. So we do have people who may not score the greatest in every single station. But just remember that when it comes to the offers, your MMI score is combined with your academic requirements, so the admissions score as well as your GPA. Therefore, it all comes together to give you a total score for offer. But it is possible to fail the MMI.
Okay, yeah. Yep. Okay, so with the time remaining, before we wrap up, I would like to invite our panel members to share one final tip or words of encouragement with our students. So I would like to start with our student first, and then followed by Kelly, and then Professor Carney. So Patrick and Dia, do you have like one final tip or any advice to give to students who are looking to apply to UQ for medicine?
Yeah, sure. I think not so much about application, but more so on the perspective of what being a doctor is, right? Coming off of placement, I think it's very important for everyone here to remember that pursuing medicine and becoming a doctor is a small part in what we call holistic care for patients. So when you get into medicine, remember that your job is important, but it is not the only one. Right? Have respect for your colleagues in allied health, have respect for people that work with you, not for you. And remember that, again, medicine is hard, but it will be worth it for you in the future.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. And how about you, Dia?
As much as everyone might believe so, you should take away the fact that grades are not everything, and worrying about your grades will not get you anywhere. Worrying about your grades won't get you better grades, and won't get you the things that you want. In fact, not worrying about it will actually help you perform better. And getting grades is not what being a doctor is. Respect yourself, respect others, respect everyone above and below you, because you need to realize that everyone is equal. And enjoy the journey, but also look forward to the destination.
Yeah,
That is it from me. Also,
love it.
sorry, I would
Yeah.
just like to
Okay.
reiterate. I
Yeah.
don't know if because I can't put it in the chat, but I would like to tell people that they can feel free to message me on Instagram if there's any questions, because I can understand international students might have a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and no one would like to go ask others for like basic questions about banking and shopping and all of that. So do you mind if I just share my screen and have my username on there?
I can actually pop it into chat as a message, so that will be fine. So yeah, I will do that now. And Kelly, yeah, so thank you, Dia. So Kelly?
Thank you, Irene. My advice is that the application process can seem very overwhelming, but it's horrible to say, don't stress, because that's the natural reaction to such a high stakes thing that you may have been looking forward to. But just remember, there are always options. Even if you don't get in, there are other options. As the next year, there might be different pathways for you to get to the end of your journey. So all the information's on our website. If you need information, just take your time, go through it all, and try and pace yourself and don't stress too much.
Yep, good advice. And last but not least, Professor Carney.
Thank you very much. I think incredibly wise words from all of our panelists tonight. As Kelly said, there are a range of other options as well, that you don't need to put all your eggs in that one basket. As Patrick said, we work as members of teams, and the importance of sort of respecting all the members of our teams, and dear sort of wise words as well. My recommendation as a psychiatrist would be that as a profession, we've been a bit late coming to the table in looking after our own health. In fact, it was only in 2017 that as a profession, when we updated the Declaration of Geneva, that we recognized and codified the importance of recognizing our own health. So I'm going to reaffirm what Dia and Patrick has said, and that is that in the pathway to medical school, and whilst you're at medical school, cultivate friendships, try new hobbies, and really sort of ensure that you have other things in your life to nourish and sustain you on this journey. It is a journey that will excite you, will enthuse you, will bring you joy. It is a journey that will sort of be part of you for 30, 40, 50, who knows, 60 years when you'll be allowed to hang up your stethoscope. But to sustain you on that journey, ensure that you cultivate outside interests as well, and cherish the friendships that you bring to medical school, and the new friendships that Dia and Patrick referenced, that I'm sure you will make whilst you're with us at medical school. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. There's an exciting world ahead of you. Back to you, Irene.
Yeah, thank you so much for your wise words, for everyone's wise words. So as mentioned before, we will be sharing the recording of this webinar with you by email, hopefully later in the week. You can also email us. So we have popped in that email, but I just pop it in again. So you can email us to discuss your application and your particular situation at enquire@connect.uq.edu.au. Feel free to mention that you have tuned into this session so that it can direct to us and our team will be able to help you. A quick reminder that our round 1 application for the graduate entry will be closing on Monday, the 9th of June. So that is pretty soon. And we look forward to receiving your applications and welcoming you to the UQ Medical School next year or in the very near future. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. Thank you.